everyone, and welcome to this Mastering the Machine presentation for July the 16th, 2022. Usually I have a webinar on these days every 2 weeks or so, but this time I am pretty sick, so I decided to just do this and talk about some of the things that I've been doing. Kind of just got back from the doctor. I've had diverticulitis for a long time, and I have some problems going on. I have to leave tomorrow for teaching a ControlLogix class in, of all places, Las Vegas. So I'll be teaching ControlLogix to 5 people from Google in a hotel, which is kind of what I typically do. You won't see a lot of the advertisements and presentations and things that I normally do here with my PowerPoint. I'm just going to put a couple videos up of things that I've been doing around here. This has been a really busy week. I worked several days at NTH, Automation NTH. Some of you know that I do work out there. And one of the videos I'm going to show you is a simulation using ControlLogix of using an emulator and the FactoryTalkME. And I do this by using add-on instructions that run simulations. So basically you can tell an actuator to move and define how long it takes to reach end of stroke and when it leaves the back prox and when it hits the front prox and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to show you that here real quick. I'm going to try to paste a video in here. And then after that, I'll show you the little machine vision project that I've been working on for American Beverage Depot, which I do a lot of work for down there. And then also I'm going to talk a little bit about my progress with Beckhoff, which I had one of the most successful webinars ever on Beckhoff last week. Or 2 weeks ago, and that was just on kind of the hardware. I had created a document for that, but I am done with the software portion of it. So this trainer that you see behind me here, this one here is the trainer that I used, and did some programming on this little trainer down here using system routines and things like that. Did it first in structured text and then migrated to ladder. And I do have that document done if anybody wants a copy of it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and paste this video in here and show you that real quick and maybe do a little talking over the top of it. So this is a pick and place. And you can place the part manually at the first photo eye. You have to remove it at the second photo eye. And you can see the prox is actually working here, and also the buttons change state as the pick and place moves up and down. So here I'm going into manual mode, and this allows you to just run a single manual cycle. So there I'm removing the part, placing a new part, and I can cycle a full cycle there. And again, you can see the buttons change and the proxies and things. And then you can also put it into single step. Single step is something that people use to operate individual sections of a machine. So you can see here, reach down and then step and close the grippers. Just hit the step button and it closes. Hit the step button again, it goes up. Step it to the other end, lower it down, open the grippers, bring it up, and bring it back. So that is a full set of single cycle. And the code for this, what I do here is I build add-on instructions, and the add-on instructions have the time that it takes for the actuator to stroke, and I can designate the proxies, the addresses of the proxies that I want to change, and I use addresses called sim inputs and sim outputs. So when I fire the output for the actuator, it goes into that add-on instruction and tells the prox to be on at a certain time. That's the basic idea behind this. So this is just a little bit of a view of of the pick and place part of this. Now you can see here I'm using an emulator for this rather than a real PLC. And I have some more screens here that I'm working on. This one is the indexer, and I haven't finished this yet, but the idea behind this is to use these locations to do part tracking. So I'll have a labeler and a drill and things like that. This is an overall view of everything. There's an indexer at the pick and place, and then it places it on a conveyor. Let's see if we can find the conveyor. There's the conveyor. So you can set a part on the conveyor and it will bring it forward. If it fails an inspection, it'll push it off into the reject bin. So here is this inspection conveyor, and you can place a part at the beginning of it. This is all running in auto cycle. It gets inspected, and basically it's a random number generator, and you can put the percentage that you want of failures. In my case, this is 15% of these fail, and you can see the number changing. That was a 20, the last one, which is very low. This is 59%. So what I do is I have a free running timer here, and I just pick up a value from it as it cycles. This one will not fail either. It's 84%. So anything under 15 fails and gets pushed into the reject bin. You chain these three stations together, the indexer, the conveyor, and the pick and place. And then I teach students how to program all that. So as I mentioned, I'm going to Las Vegas to teach a class, but this is an automation training class. So that's more of a standard PLC programming class, timers and bits and counters and things like that. But these simulation classes I've been teaching to Automation NTH for 4 or 5 years now. And what the students do is after they have graduated from college, they go into an apprenticeship, and after they've finished all the basic PLC programming parts of their apprenticeship and have done their capstone project, which is with the enclosures, designed and built their own enclosure and programmed it, then I bring them into this simulation class and teach them a little more about FactoryTalk View and simulation and writing slightly more complex programs, making AOIs and things like that. And that way they're ready to go straight to work. So this next video is of a vision inspection system that I have set up for ABD. And I do have all these lights working now, but at the time that I took this video, they weren't working. So I also have to start the conveyor by toggling a push button. And what it does is it indexes these bottles of water under the camera, and then takes an image of the top and measures from side to side how wide the bottles are. This has kind of gone a long way. This was back on June 26th, but the customer came yesterday actually, and we went through more of this and played around with a lot more on lighting and looked into counting caps and things like that. As I mentioned, this is the Beckhoff document that I did for writing the program. Talked more about TwinCat 3, whereas the last one was more on the hardware. And there were a lot of little things that you had to know, like when you installed the software to run this setup file, how to use the remote managers if you were doing different versions. Showed in detail how to start a project and where everything is in the service tray. You can see all that here. Had a lot of trouble setting up communications, and without some help from the guy at the factory, I would have never known this, but you had to basically go in, and if you had major problems and couldn't set your root up, you had to go delete this file in a directory, right? TwinCat 3.1 target, and delete the static roots file. I would have never known that. Then I went through signing up for my Beckhoff and going through the basic courses, all these videos, and taking their little tests and things. And then this is taken out of that, how to set up hardware. And I did send this code to somebody else that was only running this on the computer itself, and you can see here that there was quite a bit on I/O. So if you don't have a real Beckhoff controller, doing things like setting up the routes and scanning the I/O devices are really important. Here I described a project that an NTH student did. This is the HMI based trainer, right? So this just uses Ethernet to connect to some of their I/O, Beckhoff I/O, using EtherCAT. And there's the little I/O piece, bus coupler. And then what I did is I brought my trainer in. So this trainer was actually through the tornado that happened a couple of years ago. So I mounted it on a new backplane. It used to be on my factory backplane here, but mounted it on that, and then scanned the I/O and assigned some tags to things, right? And then explained how to run everything, monitor the I/O. Then, as I learned more about things like global variable lists and where to put code, I moved things around quite a bit. So this was an I/O test program that I did in structured text, and then I wrote a standard system routine like I normally do in PLC classes. And I wrote all this in ladder. And as you can see here, the display of the ladder works pretty well. You could have done this in structured text too, but my native language is pretty much ladder logic. So this has a 3-second press of this push button to get auto cycle going. You can flip it from auto to manual. You can't do that if you're in auto cycle. So this is kind of second nature to me to be able to read stuff like this. I know some people really like structured text, but that's not my first choice. This was when I moved things to the global variable list, I believe. No, this was when everything was in system. So I broke these apart and made separate global variable lists. All this, these tips here are from a guy named Scott Whitlock, and he has a website called Contact and Coil. And I refer to him as a reference in here because he really does go through in great detail how to set all this up and where you should put different things. So it kind of adds to the material that you get from Jacob Saganowski and from Beckhoff itself, right? So I kind of kept all of those references in here. So this was pretty cool. This is monitoring the system online, and I finished this up 12 July, a few days ago, and then put all the references in here, contact and coil and things like that I used in here. Mr. Saganowski's website was mentioned in the first video, and I do thank him for referring some of his YouTube people to me. I got more views on the last YouTube than I have on any other one. But this is the document, and if anybody wants it, of course, you can join the Automation Academy, and it's there along with some other documents. Or I could send it to you if you contact me via YouTube or whatever. So that's pretty much it for this webinar. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of pretty sick right now, so I came in and just did a quick version. But I'll see you the next time on probably a real webinar. Thank you very much.